The winter wind howled outside, sharp and unforgiving, but nothing compared to the cold that lived inside 8-year-old Lily's heart. She sat alone in the corner of the small foster home, her tiny fingers trembling as she held a crumpled piece of paper she had rewritten a dozen times. Christmas lights blinked around her, but none of them felt warm. Children laughed in the background, families picked them up for holiday visits, social workers hurried past, and the world continued moving as if she wasn't even there. Lily lowered her head, pressed her pencil hard, and wrote the words that felt heavier than the snow gathering on the streets outside. "Dear Santa, please send me a dad. She didn't ask for toys, she didn't ask for clothes. She asked for something no one had ever given her, someone to choose her." And that is how her letter, smudged with a child's hope and a lonely heart's desperation, began its journey. A journey that would carry it far beyond mailrooms and sorting centers, all the way to the glass office of a man whose world had been built on wealth, power, and silence, yet felt emptier than hers. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, miracles, and second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps these stories reach more hearts. The man who would unknowingly receive Lily's letter was Alexander Hayes, a billionaire known for building empires, winning battles in boardrooms, and conquering markets around the world. But for every achievement he stacked on top of each other like polished stones, he buried something deeper: grief, loneliness, and a guilt so suffocating that he had forgotten the last time he genuinely smiled. The world envied him, admired him, whispered about him. But no one ever saw the haunted look he carried late at night when he returned to his penthouse, where every room echoed with the silence of things he once had and lost. Christmas had long stopped meaning anything to him. His wife had passed away years earlier, and with her went the child he never got to hold, the laughter he never got to hear, and the life he had dreamed of but never lived. He avoided children, avoided joy, avoided anything that reminded him of softness. His life was business, schedules, numbers, meetings, because numbers didn't hurt, and schedules didn't abandon you. But fate, unpredictable and quietly magical, had its own plans. On a snowy morning just days before Christmas, as an assistant rushed through paperwork, sorting holiday letters mistakenly redirected to corporate offices through charity branches, one small envelope slipped free and landed directly on Alexander's desk. He frowned at it, annoyed at the clutter, ready to toss it aside. But something, maybe the crooked handwriting, maybe the smudged, colorful drawing of a Christmas tree, made him pause. He opened it, and read the words that felt like a punch to the chest. "Dear Santa, my name is Lily. I don't want toys this year. I just want a dad, someone who won't leave, someone who won't yell, someone who will stay with me even when I'm not perfect. If you can't send me one, that's okay. Maybe I don't deserve it." Alexander's vision blurred. Not because the words were sad, but because they were too familiar. The longing, the quiet self-blame, the tiny cracks in a small heart trying to be strong. All things he had carried in his own chest for far too long. He read it again, and again. He couldn't stop. He kept imagining the child behind those words, wondering how many nights she had cried quietly, wondering how many birthdays passed unnoticed, wondering what kind of world would make a little girl believe she needed to be perfect to be loved. It awakened something in him, something buried beneath years of fear, pain, and loneliness. For the first time in a long time, Alexander didn't go to his meetings. He didn't answer his calls. He didn't respond to emails. He sat in silence, holding the letter, feeling the world shift beneath him. Over the next few days, he couldn't get Lily out of his mind. He imagined her in a cold room, waiting for footsteps that never came. He imagined her writing the letter by herself, trying not to hope too much. He imagined the feeling of being a child and believing you weren't good enough to be loved. He couldn't shake it off. And for a man who built his life around control, the loss of it scared him. But it also pushed him. He searched. He called every charity office. He connected with caseworkers. His wealth opened many doors, but his determination opened even more. Slowly, he pieced together the story of Lily's life abandoned at a young age, moved from home to home, labeled as quiet, withdrawn, hard to place. Hard to place. The words stung him. How could a child be categorized like a defective object? He knew he was crossing boundaries, using influence in ways he never had before. But something told him this wasn't about charity. It wasn't about filling a void. It wasn't about easing guilt. It was about purpose. For the first time in years, he felt guided. Days later, on a cold gray afternoon, he arrived at the foster home. The staff didn't know what to do with a billionaire standing in the doorway, snow melting on his shoulders, eyes haunted but hopeful. He didn't explain much, he simply asked to see Lily. In another room, Lily sat alone again, legs pulled to her chest, listening to the voices of families picking up other children. She didn't look up when the door opened. She assumed it wasn't for her. It never was. But when the social worker called her name softly and said someone wanted to meet her, she lifted her head slowly, cautiously, afraid to hope. When she walked into the small visitation room and saw the man sitting there, she froze. He didn't smile arrogantly or pityingly. He didn't look away awkwardly. He simply looked at her the way someone looks at something precious they didn't expect to find. Something in Lily's chest fluttered. Something in Alexander's cracked open. Over the next weeks, he visited often, quietly, calmly, respectfully. He didn't force conversation or push her to act cheerful. He simply showed up consistently, the one thing no one had ever done for her. He watched her draw, listened to her speak softly about things she liked, told her small stories about the world beyond the foster home. She began leaving small drawings for him, little scribbles of stick figures holding hands, labeled me and you. He kept every one. For the first time in years, his penthouse felt less cold, not because she was there, but because he carried her presence with him. Every meeting, he thought of her quiet smile. Every night, he thought of her soft voice. Every morning, he wondered how she was doing. It was a kind of love he had never expected, gentle and slow, not romantic but healing. A love that didn't ask anything from him except sincerity. A love that didn't demand perfection, just presence. And Lily, she bloomed, quietly at first, then visibly. Her eyes brightened, her posture straightened. She laughed sometimes tentatively but beautifully. She began believing she wasn't invisible. She began hoping again. She began imagining a life where someone would choose her and stay. But just as things were falling beautifully into place, fear struck both of them. Alexander worried he wasn't good enough, that he'd fail her, that his past losses would make him hurt her somehow. He questioned if he had the right to step into a child's life when he still carried so much pain. Lily feared that he would disappear like everyone else, that he would find a better child, that she wasn't enough, that she would lose the first person who ever cared. The adoption process was long, filled with interviews, evaluations, background checks, and every delay stretched their fragile hope thinner. But sometimes, fate favors the broken who are trying to heal. On a snowy morning, almost exactly like the day Lily wrote her letter, Alexander received the official notice. He had been approved to adopt her. He didn't rush to the foster home. He didn't arrive in a flashy car. He walked quietly, wearing the same coat he had worn the first time he saw her, carrying nothing but a single small wrapped gift. Lily sat in the same corner where she once wrote her letter to Santa. When she looked up and saw him standing there, something in her eyes shimmered fear, hope, disbelief, longing. Alexander kneeled, not out of dramatic effect, but because he wanted to be at eye level with the child who had unknowingly saved him. He didn't need grand speeches or perfect words. In that moment, everything was understood. She walked toward him, slowly at first, then faster, then finally breaking into a small, trembling run as she threw her arms around him. Alexander buried his face into her hair, holding her gently but with a certainty he had never felt in his life. And in that embrace, two lonely souls who had wandered the world without belonging finally found home. A billionaire and an 8-year-old girl, not connected by blood, not by luck, but by something the world still struggles to describe, a miracle. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps keep these emotional stories alive. From that day forward, holidays were no longer cold, empty dates on a calendar. Lily filled Alexander's home with laughter, drawings, tiny footsteps, bedtime stories, and the unfiltered joy he thought he would never experience. And Alexander gave Lily what she had wished for every single day since she could remember, a father who stayed. He framed her letter to Santa and hung it on the living room wall, not as a reminder of her sadness, but as a reminder of the miracle that occurs when a child hopes, even quietly, and when a man chooses love over fear. Before the story ends, please comment, "I believe in miracles." And so, that little letter written by trembling hands didn't just reach Santa. It reached the one person who needed it just as much as she needed him. And together, they healed